Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where I take you on my journey to create Legends of the West, my graphic novel. Hi, my name is Annie, and today I want to talk about how to create a plot for a story. And the best example that I can give you is talking about the plot for Legends of the West and how I came up with the idea for this story and the characters, what inspired me, and what I did to come up with the final plot. Because creating a plot for a graphic novel or anything else that requires a story, it takes a lot of work and research. It's not as easy that you can think. If you want to avoid to make a classic mistake like a cliche Mary Sue characters, or make create a story that is not really connect with certain events that happen in the plot, and it can create confusion and misunderstanding for the general public. Because remember, you have in your mind your story, you know the characters, you know what's gonna happen. The audience doesn't know. The audience read or watch the story episode by episode, so they have no clue what the author has in their head. So I'm gonna talk about all of this while I'm working on one of my pages. And without further ado, let's start. Okay, so the first things that I want to talk about for making a plot for a graphic novel or anything else that require a story is do something that you're really passionate about it, that you really enjoy and you like it. For example, I really like American history. I'm very passionate in general about history, and the United States of America history is my favorite part. And I really enjoy watching, for example, Western movies, know about American tribes, the Native Americans tribes, the life of the frontier, the pioneers, the settlement, everything about uh, the U.S. history. I'm very passionate about it. I really like it. Also, is I really like the United States, like the culture, the people. That's one of the reasons why I decided to move 20 years ago here in the United States. So for me, researching about the American frontier, the time where Legends of the West is settled, so the year is for Legends of the West story that settled is 1849. It's in the full peak of the gold rush. And so I had to do some research about the gold rush, what happened at that time, some kind of historical events and historical characters that inspired me to create some episodes and figure out how was the life back then and that time, and the dress, from the dress, the interior of houses, the nature, the wild land of that time, what the pioneers went through to go to California, the disease, the attack of the tribes, and so on. So uh, because I like already history and that particular time period of time period, And for me, it was so easy um, to do the research that I needed for the story. But if you do something just because maybe, for example, it's very popular, um, let's see, for example, back in the few years ago, Walking Dead, it was a very popular comic book, and so much they made the famous TV series, and it was about zombie and kind of the horror style genre. So back then, I remember to see and even read articles about so many comic books coming out about zombies. So, but obviously, not all of them became successful like The Walking Dead. Well, there is a reason why a comic book, a story, a movie becomes pretty successful because it's a very well written story, and probably even because the author that thought about the story, they're kind of passionate about the type of the genre they're creating for their story. Um, so that doesn't mean that if you don't like a particular topic, your story never gonna become successful. I'm sure there are some exception, but in general, if you do a copycat just because something is very popular, it doesn't mean that um, your story is gonna became a good story. Uh, for example, myself, I hate, I really don't like zombies. I don't like the horror genre in general. I don't watch horror movies. I don't like the gore stuff. I don't like see torture animals or humans. It's really the things that I don't like, and especially zombies. I think they're very disgusting, and uh, they gross me out. So I don't want to draw anything like that. I don't want to do any research in the field. Really, watch other zombie movies. I really don't care about it. And in general, I don't care about horrors. So I don't. I can't imagine myself drawing something on that topic and create a whole story and characters. I really can't imagine to do something like that. So for that, for being for what I'm saying is, do something that you're really passionate about, that you really like it, because it would be easy to create a story and the characters and keep going on with the story. um for example, for me, like I mentioned before, I really like history. I really like United States, the American frontier, that time, that particular time. And it's not hard for me watching Western movie because it's a genre that I really like since I was very young. And I really like to read about it and watch movies. And for me, it's very easy to make Legends of the West that is based on that time. So, this is one of the main rules that I truly recommend. Do something that you really enjoy. For example, if you are passionate about Japanese history and you really want to do a graphic novel about the Japanese medieval time, uh, so it will be easier for you do some research about the Japan and the particular time, because it's not just about watching something and say, oh, I'm gonna do the same thing. For example, my story is based on on the American frontier. Oh, I know there is American. There are cowboys and Indians, and I'm gonna do something like that without knowing anything about the native tribes, without knowing the lifestyle, what was happening actually in that time. So, and the story would be just a mess basically, and maybe full of cliche and Mary Sue characters. And this is another thing that I want to talk about. When you create the story and your character, try to stay away from the classic cliche and Mary Sue characters. Mary Sue characters are these characters that you cannot see almost in nowadays movies. um Sort of like Marvel movies. Sometimes, I don't say all of them, I don't want to offend any Marvel fan, but kind of this character, these main characters, the hero that doesn't have failures, is completely perfect, never make a mistake, it doesn't need anybody help. It knows everything, he or she. Mostly, well, from what I've seen some movies nowadays, they created these females characters that are the main characters of the story. And these females characters are, they don't have any failures, they're never making mistakes. They make it look like the men, like they are weak and useless, and they are not relatable. So the main things of your characters, that which is the protagonist of the story, the hero of the story, and even the antagonist and the other characters that are gonna show up in the story, they have to have some weakness, some failures, some, they can't be perfect, because it doesn't in real life. Even if it's a story, even if it's a fantasy story like a superhero story, they had to have failures. They had to have some uh, problems, issues, maybe something that happened in their childhood, something in the past that they have that can affect them and affect them in the present. And then they grow as a character, as a person. And that's what happened in real life. If you show me the character in a movie, the protagonist, that is always does everything good and never make a mistake, is super good and does everything right, and everybody surrounding him or her is basically a moron that doesn't know what to do, and without her or his help, is completely lost. It's kind of look like too much of a complete it's kind of too perfect, and nobody is perfect. So even if, like I said, it's a story, is a made up story, it's a fantasy story, the characters, all of them in the story, especially the protagonist, has to have human traits. And humans are not perfect, they are not invincible, and they have fears and uncertainty, like all of us. So the Mary Sue character is the number one thing to stay away. Also, same old cliche. Right now, uh, how can I say some cliche that um I can think of. An example of a pretty common cliche is love at first sight. The two characters they see each other, they fall in love immediately, and everything it goes well without uh, a story development between the two, some disagreement. Or even the opposite. A lot of story that I see, especially in manga, for example, the two characters are supposed to fall in love. They're in love, but reality, at first they really hate each other. They don't like each other, but then they fall in love. And that's another cliche, which in my story, Legends of the West, I try to stay away from that. For example, Sally McKay, she is the female protagonist of the story, and obviously there's gonna be a love story because a story need some love and to connect people and make it the story more interesting. But I try to stay away from the love at first sight from one of the character. I'm not gonna say who. And also the classic cliche, they hate each other, they can stand each other, but then they fall in love. I stay away from that because it doesn't I don't say it doesn't happen in real life, but it is so common to see in movies and even anime and manga in generals that I got tired of that. Another example of cliche can be um the wise mentor figure always dies, so after to motivate the hero and to so the hero can do his journey, the mentor dies all the time. So something like that. Or the kind of uh the chosen one characters that is meant to save the world and accomplish a great task and has a special powers and abilities and make it so powerful. This is one of the classic cliche that is not necessarily bad, but be careful when you use it. It's okay use some cliche, that's normal in a story. However, don't um don't overdo it. uh if you understand what I mean, I mean, don't do too many cliche. So if you want to do a love first sight, it's fine, but then don't do so many other cliche, then the story become very, I would say, kind of the common story that you see in so many other movies or manga or anime, and it's get kind of boring and not very exciting. So doing cliche is not bad if they are in a good dosage. uh and another things I want to talk about is I would suggest to read the book of Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey. Because I think in so many new modern stories that I see, they kind of abandon that philosophy of making stories. Not necessarily you have to exact to do to follow the hero's journey rules. So you can leave it up to you, to your story, what you want to do. At the end, you are in charge of the story. You are the author, you are the creator, so you have to decide what you want, how the story is gonna develop, how the characters are gonna grow. But to me, the most important of the hero's journey is the growth of the characters. The characters grow with the stories. So at first they're in a certain way, and then during the story they grow, and then at the end of the story they become the person that they were supposed to be. um for example, my two characters, Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, in the story, they at first they're very immature still. Huckleberry is more mature than Tom. Tom never really changed because he never really left his hometown. He's still the same kind of got kid with a lot of imagination, wants to be at the center of attention, and always looking for a new adventure, and it doesn't matter how much dangerous it it is, and it doesn't matter how much he can put in danger himself and his friends. um and he fall in love very quickly and stuff like that. But during the story he's gonna grow is he's not gonna be longer a man, but he's gonna become a kid of I'm sorry, it's not gonna be long be a kid anymore, but he's gonna grow up to be a young man, a man for that time. So, and the same for Huckleberry Finn, even if he's a little bit different than Tom. And Isela McKay, she's the female character of this story. There gonna be other female characters, but she is the main one. Um, she definitely is gonna grow as well. At first, she can be seen. I stay away from the Mary Sue. Of course, she's a strong young woman. She was raised by her grandfather, and now I don't want to reveal too much about the story, but she had the same education of her brothers. She's very good with weapons and she can fight, but that doesn't mean she's invincible, that she's not afraid of anything, and she's scared. She never gets scared. Actually, some events that happen in her life, which if you want to know, you gotta read the story. But and actually she suffered of PTSD for the horror things that she saw in the past. And at first she thinks that almost like the mother instinct that she has to protect Tom and Huck, because she thinks that she knows better than them because she went through so much. And Huck and Tom, coming from a small town, never really went through that much, even if Huckleberry went through a lot considering he was an abused child. uh she thinks that she's the one, she has to protect them, she has to do everything, but at the end she understands that she needs Huck and Tom help, that she cannot affront everything by herself. She need somebody else to help her, and it's okay asking for help. So I don't want to say too much about my story because I don't want to reveal too much, but for just to make you understand that uh, the protagonist of the story has to have a growth into the story. They cannot be the same from the beginning to the end of the story, uh, because it's not gonna be an appealing story. It's not gonna um it's not gonna be a story that is gonna attract the attention of, and it's gonna become quite boring. Instead, you want to do a story that you always wonder, oh, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? And kind of leave it not. You don't want to do a story that's predictable, which is kind of hard to do. It's not always that easy. And if you do some things that are predictable, that's totally fine. Like in this story, there is a love story. Obviously, it's predictable. Two young guys with a young, beautiful girls. Obviously, one of them or both of them. I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything. They're gonna fall in love. But what's gonna happen? Uh, so it's okay. Make predictable situation, but you have to even kind of don't make it the same thing over and over and make it so, because it become boring, like I said, uh and not very exciting. So always keep in mind, when you create the story, make it like what's gonna happen next, what's gonna happen next. Also, I want to say another thing that's very important. Make the story readable. Like, you have to understand, like I mentioned before in the intro, that you know the story, you know the characters, but your audience doesn't know the story, doesn't know the characters. So I hate, especially in manga and anime, that at the beginning of the story happens so fast. I don't even have a time to understand what's going on. And then everything that is happening is revealed at the beginning. And it's kind of ruin the suspense, the questioning, oh, what's gonna happen, you know, because it's already revealing everything, especially from the villain. The villain, this is another cliche, talking about again cliche, that the villain is introduced at the beginning of the story, and it reveals everything, and then the hero, the protagonist, has to fight the villain and solve the problem, and that's it. And then at the end of the story wins, and the villain's defeat. But you already found out everything at the beginning, so there's not much to discover through the story. And I see it over and over again in a lot of anime. And I don't know if it's a Japanese culture that is like that, that maybe they make a story like that, but I don't know. I really hate that part personally. It doesn't mean that's bad, but personally, I hate. Like, for example, in my story, Legends of the West, the first few chapters, they're kind of a slow pace. Like, I introduce the characters, and I show the reason why Sally McKay is traveling by herself. She is Louisiana, but she actually from California, and she is in search of something. But she doesn't reveal everything from the beginning. And actually, her reason for going to this dangerous journey, and then Tom and Huck join with her, is gonna develop through the story, and the real reason is gonna happen through the story. And some things that she knows, the real reason and stuff, even Huck and Tom, they won't be able to get to know, to discover it towards a certain point of the story. So nothing really is gonna get revealed at the beginning. At the beginning, she's gonna say what she's looking for and why she's traveling, but then the story is gonna develop, the real reasons gonna develop, because I want to make it the reader kind of wondering why this girl, she dressed up in this way, and She is not like a regular common girl from that time. uh, and what's the reason why she's doing all of that. It's kind of hard to explain when you don't want to reveal everything, but yeah, so this is one of the main uh main things to create a plot, a story. And the plot, how you gonna come up with the plot? Well, there are different ways to. First of all, you gotta get inspiration from something. Anything can inspire you, and in my opinion, the plot is gonna come up mostly more you thinking about the story, more you created the characters, more you do your research and watch movies, even listen music, or events that happen in real life to yourself or to somebody else, or real events that happen around the world. That's depend on what kind of story you want to do. Is gonna give you the way to create the plot. And for myself, I came up with the idea of Legends of the West. Well, I read The Adventure of Tom Sawyer and The Adventure of Huckleberry Finn. I got really into these two novels, and I got into these two novels thanks to a Japanese cartoon and anime that it was named My Friend Huck or something like that. But I was still in Italy, and it was many years ago. But the story of the anime, it was completely different of the two novels. So when I read the novels, I was in shock. I said, "But this is completely different from the anime that I watch on TV." And honestly, the two novels, well, there are two masterpieces of the American literature, and Mark Twain became my favorite author. Writer. And I read about his biography, a very interesting person, interesting and unfortunate life he had. And the two novels are my favorite, the American classic novels. And I really got into the stories, and I start to picture these two characters, Tom and Huck, and then somehow I came up with the character of Sally McKay. It was a completely different scenario. The this story than Legends of the West. I was just drawing Huck and Tom. I was just basically redoing the novel but adding Sally McKay. How did I come up with Sally McKay character? Well, my favorite anime is The Rose of Versailles. In Italian is notoriously known as the Lady Oscar, and I will recommend to watch it because it's one of my favorite anime, like I said. And you can learn the French Revolution just watching the anime and the series. And I really like, since I was 6 years old, that character. And but it's kind of different. Obviously you don't have to do copycats, but I got inspired by Lady Oscar. This woman, she grew up before the French Revolution. Her father was a general for the royal guard, and he was in charge to protect the king and the queen of France. And then because he always had daughters and never had a son that could take his place in the military, The last daughter that was born, he said, "That's it. I'm gonna raise her like a man." And he trained her to be like have a career like a man, because nowadays completely normal that a woman fighting isn't has a career in the military. It can be even a sergeant, or I don't know the ranks, but it can be a very high rank in the military, and it's completely normal. But back then, in the 1700s, it was completely uh it was unthinkable. So she exceeded, she excelled, she in her role in the military. She was actually very good. She saved so many times the life of Marie Antoinette, the princess first, and then the queen of France. And there is all the development of the story. uh, then the French Revolution start, and it's a very dramatic anime. It's very sad. Obviously the French Revolution was not really a happy time, but you can see the characters, the main characters, like Lady Oscar. She's excel in her skills. Uh, However, she has a lot of flaws. She has a lot of fears. She fell in love. She tried to stop her feelings for somebody, for the Fersen, which is a Swedish count that fall in love with Marie Antoinette, which is true, is really happened, that it was a Marie Antoinette lover. He had a tragic death, but mm, uh, like I said, Lady Oscar, she has a lot of fears, failures, and uncertainty, and she has to make decisions for her future, her life, and give up something else to get something else, just like in real life. And that's like I mentioned before, it's very important that your characters in your stories have values, so that because they have to become relatable. Just like Lady Oscar, she's great on her job. However, her life, it wasn't happy, all full of rainbow roses and unicorn, and everything went perfect. Absolutely no. So that's what make the character and the story interesting, and always wonder what's gonna happen next. So this is so what I was saying. I got inspired by her to create Sally McKay. Obviously, she's totally different from Lady Oscar, and but I got the kind of vibe, that kind of style, and then I developed the character of Sally through the years. Even the story, it didn't come up all at once. Uh, it took me years before I really figure out how to create the story, make it interesting, and stay away from cliche. And I had to read a bunch of books, even Joseph Campbell's, and watch a lot of movies, and to understand better. Years ago, when I started to make these videos, and then I stopped 5 6 years ago, 5 years ago. That's because so many things happen in my life, and uh, I had to kind of stopped um, to do. I didn't have the head in the right place to do the channel and working on the story. And honestly, I didn't have so much time even to think about it, because I was working second shift, and if you work second shift in a manufacturing, you don't have a life because you work from usually from 2:30 in the afternoon till 10:30 in the evening. I'm not a night person, I'm a morning person. So I didn't have a chance to work on the story at all. And so most of the Saturdays I was working overtime, mandatory overtime. So you had only Sunday to do everything else, errands, and everything, chores, and time. There is so much time in a day, and I didn't have the time to work on Legends of the West at all. So, and then other things that happen, like a divorce and stuff like that, and obviously your head in some other places and not concentrate to do this. So, so how I come up, I developed the story through the years, and last years, it's really when I really start to think about it again seriously. And I don't know how to explain it honestly, but all the episodes and all the things that were missing, that I was trying to understand, but why Sally McKay is traveling, what's her reason, what um how Tom and Ak is gonna interrupt in certain situation, and even the antagonist, uh the antagonist of the story. At first I was never really working on him, and kind of left him like, oh, he's the bad guy, that's it. But like I said, I don't know how, but all these things, they come up together, and episode by episode it just came up, and I connect all the dots, and it just came out. And now I have the old plot, I have the old story, and I'm very happy with. There always room for changes, no doubt, to add or take out something, obviously, but uh it's complete. It's complete, and I just have to draw it and finish on the computer and publish the story. It's gonna take me some times because obviously I'm not doing this full time, and I have to do it in my spare time. But it's the story. It's complete, and I don't know. It just maybe because I switch the shift. I work first shift now, so, and even the type of job that I'm doing is a little different, and maybe just having more time in the afternoon, and having more time to think about it, I just relax my mind and don't have the same problems, issues that I had before. My mind that just got more in peace and relax and start to think about the story, and I connect all the episodes. I made great episodes. Obviously it's me saying it, uh but I'm very happy. I'm very happy, and I can't wait to publish it and post it and see what happen if other people think like I do, that it's a good story. After all, when you create a story, when you decide to make a graphic novel, a comic book, whatever you want to do, you gotta believe in your project. If you are the person that don't believe in your projects, in your project, who else is gonna do it for you? You are the one that has to believe in your story, that you has to believe in your project, and you are the one that you have to get excited of your work, so other people will become too. Because if you don't believe in your story and you just wait till the somebody else, the other people gonna tell you, oh no, it's a great story, they might gonna lie to you because they wanna make you feel good about you and your story, you know. You're the one that you have to convince the other people that's a great story. So you have to believe in yourself, in your skills, in your artwork. And if you're not satisfied with your drawing style, you always can improve. I wasn't drawing like that a few years ago. In another video, I said, older you get, better you become in drawings, and your style improve because more you draw, obviously more experience you get, and you start to see the mistakes, the things that need to be fixed. Sometimes it's good to pause, leave maybe your drawing for a couple days, and then come back and you see all the mistakes. That's what happened to me. If I leave it for a few days and then I come back, I say, oh, I gotta fix the chin, I gotta fix the eyes, I gotta fix. And I'm very critical of my drawings. I'm never really satisfied, but at a certain point you kind of let it go. You can't keep doing the same drawing over and over the same page, but um you definitely, you can fix some stuff, improve, and then the next page is gonna get even better. um Look other people work and see what they're doing, get some kind of ideas for your work, and don't copycat. um I don't think a copycat is, get inspired, get ideas, it's okay, but do the same thing. No. For example, Sally McKay, a lot of people just told me that the hair of Sally reminds Inuyasha's hair, which is one of another my favorite anime, another favorite anime of mine. And yes, I kind of got inspired by Inuyasha hair to do Sally air, but that doesn't mean the Sally look like Inuyasha. At least I don't see the similarity and stuff. Also, anime in general have beautiful, fully hair, long hair, beautiful, and so it's not just Inuyasha, but so many. But yeah, I can see the similarity. I don't say this not true. As Inuyasha, I got inspired by him uh, to do this graphic novel, because at first I didn't even know how to create a comic book, a graphic novel, and then I crossed the Inuyasha, the manga. I was watching the anime on TV, and I started watching when I was in Italy, and then I found out about the manga and I start to look at the pages, and then I said, "Oh, I want to do something like that for my story." And I self-taught myself to create a graphic novel. Obviously, I didn't just check Inuyasha. I took other manga and see what they were doing. But then I developed my drawing style, and that's the way I draw, and that's what the way I learned. And so I would suggest to do the same. Look at the artwork of other artists and learn what they do, get inspired by them, and watch movies, listen to music. Music give me a lot of inspiration. um, an example I can give you is when I used to watch an HBO series. It was Little Liars. It wasn't Pretty Little Liars. It was another one. It was one with Nicole Kidman and Lenny Kravitz's daughter. It was a few years ago, and I really liked the intro song. And I said, "Oh my god, who is the artist?" So I found out who was the artist and download the music and listen that song inspired me to do some stuff at the beginning of each chapter. Sally remember her past, some events that happened in her past, and I do small clips of her past. And then the antagonist, his name is Chavez, is gonna have some same things, some things that are he's gonna remember that happened in the past, some clips, some events, and I'm gonna show it in each chapter. And then at the end, all these clips they're gonna become uh are gonna put all together, and they're gonna make the reason of why Chavez is like that, what happened to him, and what happened to Sally. So, like I said, I'm not gonna say more than that, but um, so for that, give you an example that anything can really give you ideas for your story. Uh, Historical characters that can give you a story, and this in my story Legends of the West is gonna be historical characters that really exist, like Cynthia Ann Parker. She was a 90-year-old girl that she was kidnapped by the Comanche, and then she was the mother of Juana Parker, one of the most famous Comanche chief. So my characters in the story they're gonna meet her, and I don't say more, but for give you an example is reading about history and reading about other characters and real characters that really existed and events can give you ideas to create your story and an episode. So to recap, before I ended this video, make sure to do your homework, do a lot of research on the topic that you love. Don't do something that you don't like. um do something that you're passionate, because it's gonna be easier for you to draw it and even do research about it. Stay away from too many cliches are not always bad, but too many in the same story can be annoying, boring, and predictable. um what else? Stay away from Mary Sue characters. Your characters are human beings, or even if you use animals, even animals have flaws. So remember, your characters, all of them, especially the protagonist, they have to be relatable to all of us, to the general public. So make create the characters that have flaws, that have fears, they do something wrong, not all the time, but they are not saints, and they are not impeccable. Um, they have uncertainties, they have failures, they have characters flaws. Uh, they are not perfect. So stay away from the Mary Sue characters, and read the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell. Can be useful. You don't have to follow step by steps uh, the hero journey, but it can give you a good idea. Uh, the characters in the story has to grow with the story. They can't be from the beginning to the end of the story the same person, because in real life people change. Events that happen, people that we meet in real life, they change us. Um, and that's even in the stories, even if it's a fantasy story, if it's a made up story, things can change a person. And get inspired by other artists, watch other artwork, other movies, anime, manga, comic books, listen to music, and concentrate yourself on the story, and definitely you gonna come up with some great ideas. Don't feel bad if you maybe you can come up with anything. It takes time. Me, it took years before I came up with the story complete, and with the story that makes sense. And the last things I want to say before I close, always remember that your audience doesn't know your story, don't know what you have in your mind. So make it the story that's readable and that's not confusing. Always wonder, always use these 5 words: who, when, where, what, and why. So always ask yourself these 5 words: when, where, why, what, and where, to make your story. Why your character is acting this way, when this is happened, where it happened, uh, certain events happen, um, and so on. So remember this and take your time, don't rush it, and you're gonna have a great story. Uh, and for now, I think that's it. I don't have nothing else to say. Um, yeah, I can always do an extra video if I forgot something, but for now, I think this. And honestly, this is my opinion. Don't take everything that I said for the oh, this is the way it has to be. I can't make it some errors, mistakes. Uh, so do your own research. Just because I say stuff like that doesn't mean that this is the golden rule. There are always an exception, but these are my opinions for creating a story and a plot. But do your own research. Um, do your homeworks, and I'm sure you're gonna come up with a great story. At the end, whoever gonna decide if my story or your story or anybody else's story is a good one or not is the audience. The audience is the judge, and they are the one that gonna make the final verdict to see if it's a good story or it's not. We can make our best as a creator, as authors. We can do our best to create a story with that we believe and we think it's really good. But at the end, we never gonna know till the story is published and see how the audience is gonna
All
react
right, that's
to
all
our
for this
work.
video. I hope you found it useful and it can give you some idea to create your own story.
And if you wanna read Legends of the West for free, you can do it on my website, one.comics.com. It's a quite old site. I never really updated with anything. It's several years that I'm not doing anything with the website. I didn't add any new pages, but I will do it soon, and probably I will make some videos to show you how to post pages on a site if you want to create a website for your story or anything else. And thank you again for watching, and if you want to support my channel, please don't forget to subscribe, give a like if you like the video, and let me know what you think. Leave a comment. All right, see you on the next one, and for now, ciao.